Some movies push boundaries, others blow them up completely, and that's exactly why so many ended up banned around the world. Let's not waste time, let's dive right in.
The Da Vinci Code, 2006. The Da Vinci Code is the movie that made everyone wonder if Leonardo da Vinci was hiding secrets in his art or just had a really good interior decorator. Let's just say his artwork wasn't exactly church-friendly. The movie suggests that Mary Magdalene and Jesus had a secret family, leading to outrage from different religious groups who see Jesus as untouched by sexual desires as that Playboy magazine in a monk's monastery. It's as if someone decided to rewrite history, using Da Vinci's artwork to create an intriguingly blasphemous backstory about the foundations of Christianity. Several countries, with their very own standards of what's appropriate for public consumption, looked at the film and realized that this film might be a little bit too controversial to ever see Heaven's Gate. The film touched on themes that would make you question everything you ever knew about your religion. In places like Saudi Arabia and Egypt, where preserving religious sentiments is as important as keeping the desert sand out of your shoes, the movie was promptly thrown out the door. The plot was a bit too spicy and controversial for other people's tastes. It wasn't just about the plot, but also about how the film portrayed religious institutions, which felt like an over-the-top Mexican soap opera with too much drama. Countries and religions were afraid of what people would think about Jesus, the church, and everything Christianity ever stood for. So, the most logical thing to do to a movie that can rock your faith is to hide it under a rock called censorship.
The Da Vinci Code basically asked, what if Jesus had family drama, aka the ultimate church soap opera? No surprise places like Saudi Arabia and Egypt banned it faster than you can say heresy. The film painted Christianity with telenovela flair, and that was just too much. But banning it? Classic Streisand effect. Nothing makes people want to watch a movie more than being told they can't.
The Human Centipede, 2009. Someone may have cooked up this movie as their idea of what a horror film should be, but instead of a scary movie, it turned into an extreme test of how resilient your stomach can be. The Human Centipede was banned in numerous places because it made a lasting impression, though not what you'd want on your dinner table. It follows the story of a mad scientist who decides that the pinnacle of human evolution is a creature with 3 people, a literal human centipede. He wanted to connect human bodies in a way that sounds like something you'd find in a twisted game of connect the dots. But instead of giving you nightmares about ghosts and monsters, the plot could make you throw up everything you have in your system, all the way back to last month's breakfast. This twisted doctor kidnapped 3 people and connected them from mouth to anus, while basically turning their digestive tracts into one. Everything that the person at the front eats goes through the person connected to his butt until it finally passes through the third person. It's basically the world's worst team building exercise, a train game that went wrong. Countries and film boards didn't hesitate on banning the movie because they didn't want their people's eyes burning from what they might call a traumatizing experience. It's a train wreck of taste and decency, and you're one of the lucky ones if you haven't seen a single minute of this movie.
The Human Centipede wasn't horror. It was gastrointestinal sabotage disguised as cinema. Instead of ghosts, you got a science project that turned 3 people into the worst relay race in history. No wonder censors noped out instantly. This wasn't entertainment, it was a dare. Honestly, it's less a movie and more a trauma speedrun. If you've avoided watching it, congrats. I watched the half, never recovered from it.
Cannibal Holocaust, 1980. You might think dining out is a pleasant experience, especially when it's exotic, but Cannibal Holocaust changes that notion, turning an exotic meal into a movie that makes you understand why it's banned. The movie follows a group of filmmakers who went to the Amazon rainforest to film indigenous tribes. No one heard from them for a while, that's why a team of rescuers were sent to go looking for them. When they saw the crew's footage, they saw shocking acts of violence and cannibalism committed by the indigenous tribes. A butcher's shop would look like a salad bar compared to this movie. Cannibal Holocaust's reputation was solidified by its special effects, as people wondered whether or not actual violence took place on set. There were false rumors that the actors were harmed for real, fueling the idea that Cannibal Holocaust wasn't just a movie, but a wild documentary of a blood-soaked adventure. The film also features live animal deaths, which makes it less of a midnight snack and more of a culinary nightmare. Its extreme content made it a recipe for disaster, forcing governments and film boards to decide that there are safer ways to get your horror thrill. It was essentially banned in many places, but if you get your hands on this film, you might need a strong stomach to handle this Amazonian food trip.
It's crazy. Cannibal Holocaust basically invented the found footage genre, but dialed it straight to nightmare fuel. Viewers weren't debating plot, they were debating if the murders were real. Add in actual animal deaths, and suddenly it felt less like cinema and more like a crime scene screening. No wonder governments banned it. It turned exotic Amazon adventure into a gore-drenched nightmare buffet nobody ordered off the menu.
Mouse, 2008. If Tom and Jerry decided to cover world history and focus heavily on World War II and the Holocaust, you get the movie Mouse, a film based on a famous graphic novel. And like its paper counterpart, it got banned in different places worldwide because nothing stirred up more emotions than the Holocaust. Mouse has a unique portrayal of the Jewish genocide by the Nazis. It's a heart-wrenching story depicted through human-like animals, where Jews are mice and Nazis are cats. So you can imagine that turning this deeply moving work into a movie requires treading on delicate ground. It's like trying to juggle chainsaws while blindfolded. One wrong movie and you're dead. But while some people love the way it tells the story of the Holocaust through a different method, the movie faced bans mainly due to its portrayal of sensitive content. Some people thought the graphic nature of the Holocaust depicted through these creatures was a bit too intense for their liking. Imagine turning a Disney movie about animals into a film where the cute creatures die amidst the backdrop of a very grim historical event. There's a very big mismatch that can cause confusion and make kids think that it's a family-friendly film, only for them to see early on how horrible life can be through the lives of the mice in Mouse. Additionally, the film faced resistance because of how it was perceived as altering the serious nature of the original work. In other words, some felt it might make the Holocaust's horrors seem less real. It's like adding a dash of sugar to a spicy dish. Sometimes it can balance the intense heat, but it can also ruin the flavor. In this case, some thought that the sugary, cartoonish portrayal insulted the Holocaust, forcing schools and countries to keep it away from their kids.
It's honestly wild. Cannibal Holocaust doesn't even feel like a movie. It feels like someone smuggled a snuff tape into theaters. The fact people actually thought the actors were killed for real says everything. And then you realize, nope, the animal deaths, those were actually real. At that point, it's less horror and more National Geographic on a war crime budget. No wonder censors basically hit the panic buttons.
The Last Temptation of Christ, 1988. Let's say that your favorite superhero, such as Superman, questions his life existence and often thinks about leaving heroism behind to live the regular life of the average dude permanently. In a nutshell, that's the reason why The Last Temptation of Christ got banned, because it depicts the Messiah in the same way. Martin Scorsese's religious epic follows Jesus Christ in a bit of a what-if story. In this movie, the Son of God is tempted by the allures of living a normal life, including getting married, having children, paying off your ridiculous mortgage, and working a tedious 9-to-5 job. For him, being an average Joe seems to be more interesting than the life of a god. The twist is that Jesus often deals with these earthly temptations while still trying to save humanity. It becomes a constant struggle between settling down in a lovely farmhouse and returning to heaven after he's done cleaning up our messes. Scorsese's portrayal of Jesus wasn't exactly something to be happy about if you're on the more extreme side of the religious scale. The church thought that it was blasphemy to portray the Messiah as a very human figure with very human needs and desires. Christian groups protested outside movie theaters, demanding to know why their beloved Savior was shown debating the pros and cons of living a normal life. It's like getting upset because your superhero suddenly decided to nap instead of fighting the villain.
It's kind of hilarious. Scorsese basically made a Jesus what if episode and people lost their minds. Imagine the Messiah weighing marriage, kids, and a mortgage over saving humanity. Suddenly the Son of God sounds like he's stuck in a sitcom pilot. For hardcore believers though, showing Christ with actual human desires was pure blasphemy. No surprise theaters had protesters outside yelling like Marvel fans after a bad rewrite.
Pink Flamingos, 1972. If you could think of a movie that probably tried to break as many taboos as possible, then that would be Pink Flamingos. This outrageous film gave the cinema world a huge facepalm during the 1970s. The film's plot follows Divine, a drag queen who's on a quest to be the filthiest person alive. Think of it as a talent show where the only category is being the most indecent human. While it's a critical success for pushing boundaries, Pink Flamingos is infamous for its no-holds-barred approach to shock value. It features scenes so outrageous, they make a visit to the dentist look like a walk in the park. You're looking at things like public defecation, eating dog poop, and a general vibe that says, if you're not offended, you're doing it wrong. It's as if the film decided that normal was too boring and crafted a film that insists on breaking every rule in the book. As a result, it's been banned in various places, not because it's poorly made, but because it boldly challenges norms and decency. It's less about being a bad film and more about being provocative, ensuring that it's not everyone's cup of tea unless your tea is spiked with shock value and rebellious spirit.
It's basically the cinematic Olympics of bad taste. Pink Flamingos wasn't trying to shock, it was competing for gold in it. Divine's quest to be the filthiest person alive gave us scenes so outrageous they make reality TV look wholesome. Eating dog poop on camera? Yeah, that actually happened. No wonder censors freaked out. This wasn't just a movie, it was a dare to see how far art could spit in society's face.
The Dictator, 2012. The moment you hear that the guy starring in this movie is the same dude who brought us controversial movies like Borat and Bruno, you already know that it's going to ruffle some feathers internationally. The Dictator is a movie that took a straight punch to the gut of dictatorship and authoritarian leadership, causing several countries to ban it from their theaters. In this movie, General Aladdin is a ruthless North African dictator who rules his country with an iron fist and a bad haircut. When democracy threatens to rain on his parade, he's shipped off to New York to charm the UN. Instead, he's double-crossed and ousted from his dictatorship. Now, as an exile in the US, he's fumbling through democracy, a concept totally foreign to him. The dictator isn't shy about showing the outrageousness of dictatorship. You'd see how the film takes a low blow using satire to poke fun at cultural stereotypes and everything that dictators do. In short, it insults the concept of dictatorship and makes dictators look silly, stupid, and outrageous. There was never anything subtle about its humor, especially given how controversial some topics were. For countries with democracies, it's a funny movie, but for a country with a long history of dictatorship, it's an insult to their leaders and the way they run their nations. Allowing this kind of film might have been like adding a gasoline tank to an open flame for many countries, potentially causing a political explosion. That's why it's banned in Arab countries that feel that the movie was meant to specifically insult them.
It's peak Sacha Baron Cohen. The Dictator basically turned authoritarian leaders into punchlines with bad wigs. Watching General Aladdin bumble through New York like a spoiled toddler with nukes was hilarious for democracies, but straight up insulting for regimes that actually have spoiled toddlers with nukes. No surprise Arab countries banned it. Satire only works if you can laugh at yourself, and dictators aren't exactly known for their sense of humor.
Monty Python's Life of Brian, 1979. It's more than 2,000 years ago, and you're living your life normally, until someone accidentally mistakes you for Jesus Christ. This religious twist is turned into a series of hilarious events that would make you look at the Bible as a comedy book. Now, you probably understand why Monty Python's Life of Brian got a bad side eye from religious groups. The movie is about Brian Cohen, a guy born on the same day as Jesus, who gets mistaken as the savior because he was born in the house next door. It's the Monty Python crew's attempt to give a fresh twist to biblical stories, much to the rage of those who prefer their religious tales as solemn as possible. It basically humorously handles sacred themes, making Christian groups think that these guys were simply mocking their savior and using Jesus' tale as a way to make a few bucks out of a comedy flick. It's like the movie's goal was to find every button of religious sensitivity and push it until it screamed, "Enough!" In the UK, some local councils actually banned the film because they were worried it might spark more blasphemy. Over in Ireland, it was so controversial that the Irish film censor thought it was like spitting in the Holy Grail. In the US, there wasn't a nationwide ban, but local groups frequently targeted it, feeling it poked fun at their faith in a way that didn't quite align with their idea of a good Christian story. Essentially, you're going to feel that the movie pokes fun at religion in what was supposed to be a harmless way, but it didn't sit well with people who wanted their biblical stories untouched by comedy.
It's Monty Python doing what they do best, turning sacred cows into punchlines. Life of Brian wasn't mocking Jesus directly, but the idea that some random guy born next door could get mistaken for the Messiah was enough to set off bans across Ireland and local councils in the UK. Honestly, it's less blasphemy and more biblical mix-up comedy, but try telling that to angry church groups who weren't in on the joke.
American Sniper, 2014. If you have a movie that's made by an American, stars an American, and talks about an American fighting for good old American freedom in the Middle East, it's bound to stir up some controversy in places that aren't too fond of the USA. American Sniper follows the story of a Navy SEAL sniper with a talent for making long-distance shots look like a game of darts. It talks about the struggles he faces in the Middle East while shooting down terrorist insurgents and the issues he needs to address back home. But the movie also dives deep into the heart of the Middle Eastern conflict. If you're used to eating what the Western media serves you daily, you'll find nothing wrong with this film and its plot. But countries and people who were on the short end of the stick of the conflicts involving the USA in the Middle East weren't happy about how the movie portrayed military actions and political issues. The film presented a one-sided view of the conflicts through the eyes of a classic American patriot. It's like a comic book where the heroes can't do anything wrong, while the villains, like the Middle Eastern soldiers, are evil down to their very core. This led to the film getting banned in several Middle Eastern countries. Meanwhile, other countries who weren't offended by the movie's portrayal of the war still banned this film for other reasons. They thought it might stir up local tensions between those with opposing views about the movie. So while American Sniper was an international blockbuster, it was also a source of international popcorn fights involving countries that don't like how American this movie is.
It's basically Clint Eastwood directing a 2-hour love letter to the American Sniper rifle. American Sniper painted Chris Kyle as a flawless patriot while reducing Middle Eastern fighters to comic book villains, which shockingly didn't play well in the Middle East. For audiences there, it felt less like a war film and more like propaganda on IMAX. The result: bans, outrage, and yet another reminder that Hollywood's hero is often someone else's villain.
The Gods Must Be Crazy, 1980. You probably never knew that a movie could get many people laughing, but also offend an equal number of folks. That's what you get in The Gods Must Be Crazy, a hilarious gem that got banned for having a sense of humor that not everyone could get. The story follows a member of a primitive and remote tribe who sees a Coke bottle falling out of the sky after it gets thrown off an airplane. Having never seen such a thing before, the locals thought it was a gift from the gods, like sweet nectar falling out of the sky. They started using it for everything, including cooking and hammering, until they soon realized it caused more trouble than good. Their peaceful lives turned into envy and arguments as a soda bottle caused so much chaos. This film intended its plot to humorously make fun of mainstream society and its obsession with soda and basically everything else that capitalism throws your way. Its portrayal of an indigenous culture was also supposed to be lighthearted, but not everyone got the punchline. Sure, you'd think it only used indigenous culture to make a point, but some people thought it reinforced stereotypes rather than broke them. They felt the movie was more of a cultural misunderstanding than a comedic masterpiece. So instead of making millions more people laugh out loud with its simplistic but well-played joke, The Gods Must Be Crazy got banned, but not before it broke box office records worldwide. It looks like the Coke bottle caused quite a stir.
It's kind of poetic. A Coke bottle falling from the sky caused more chaos than an asteroid. The Gods Must Be Crazy nailed the absurdity of consumer culture, but some felt it mocked indigenous people instead of critiquing society. The result: a comedy that made the world laugh, then got censored for laughing the wrong way. Talk about irony in a glass bottle. The Analyst did an amazing job putting this video together. The link's in the description if you want to check it out. And trust me, the next one, let's just say you won't see it coming. Stay nerdy,